Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins.
and you're on the air with Power Squared. It's just the two of us tonight. Welcome back to the Artemis since that landed today.
Yes.
Sort of, actually live and all that. So we thought we've talked before about our plans for Power Squared, but we haven't really talked about stories for Power Squared.
Right.
And I thought this would be a chance to sort of talk about a story that we have in progress and a couple of stories that I've worked on and see if there's something else that germinates out of this.
Right.
So we're currently working on it's a two-parter called Aromatherapy, and the art just started on it. Literally, just like 2-3 days ago.
Right.
We've seen 2 pages so far, sketches. But so Aromatherapy has sort of 2 plots going. One is Mocha decides to get a job.
Right.
And she decides to work at the student union making coffee for the students, even though she doesn't drink coffee.
Right.
That way she can keep an eye. She can be closer to the boys during the day and keep an eye on them. And she has nothing else to do. She's just like waiting for them to come home mostly, so now she has something to do, and she'll be close to them. Next to that is one morning after sleeping with Jennifer, Eli wakes up and one of his arms is invisible. And you got to figure out what caused that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
What
right.
do you want me to say?
No, a little more enthusiasm. Yeah, that's it. So that's kind of, I don't want to get too far
I only
into
got like 5 hours of sleep. So.
Well, okay. I'm just trying to, have a little enthusiasm.
Right.
So the idea is basically to sort of, I'd like to get Mocha kind of out of the suit she always wears.
Yeah, I think I had a suggestion early on she could potentially take on different forms, not just the same one, and then that didn't go anywhere.
Okay. Well, but she doesn't have to wear the suit all the time.
Right.
I like her being Mocha. I do have an idea for a story we'll talk about later about her changing forms.
Right.
So anyway, in this, they get to play detective and try to figure out what's causing Eli's arms to disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that she's working at the school, Mocha, in the next story idea I have called To the Rescue, she is kidnapped, essentially. She gets knocked unconscious and is then sort of neutralized. Her powers, we always, I don't know how that would really work, but we always have neutralizers going on.
Yeah.
And she's taken.
Well, I mean, a neutralizer is kind of a superhero thing.
Yeah.
Like kryptonite.
Yeah.
Well, green kryptonite.
Right. Or a yellow pencil if you're the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So she's kidnapped and neutralized by 2 Russians. It's either the Russians or the Chinese, because it's basically trying to make sure they don't fall behind the super soldier gap. Because that
Right.
was Dr. Atlas's
thing.
That he was going to use this to create super soldiers. So the Russians hear about that and they don't want to fall behind. One of the guys, Boris, is a professor at the school, and he was there kind of when, after the Cold War and before the current Putin situation in Russia, there was cooperation between the U.S. and Russia.
Yes.
And scientists would work together. And so he was working with Dr. Atlas at the time. Dr. Atlas discovered the Viribus compound. So he was there, but he doesn't know more about it than that.
All right.
But he does know that they don't want to fall behind the super soldier idea. So they're looking for the source, and they kidnap Mocha.
Right.
And then the boys have to call in favors and use their powers to get her back, which they do.
Right.
Well, this is the story idea. I'm not getting
Right.
the details of the story, but that's kind of, but that's in essence what happens in the story. You have not read it yet.
No, I have not.
Yeah, but
I printed it out.
yeah.
But as of this episode, I have not read it yet.
Yeah. But I think I like it personally. 'Cause it's kind of a turning the tables a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's sort of them having to work together to solve a problem. We always have her being a lot of times she's the one that kind of intervenes or whatever, and there's times they have to do it without her.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that idea. I also have an idea for a one-shot about Jennifer, just sort of establish her character a little bit more. It's a one-shot. Compared
to how she has been depicted before.
Well, it gives her background, and you kind of a little more of the universe of the story.
Yeah.
Because it gets interesting, I think. And I don't want to tell too much about that story, but that's part of the idea. Would be a little just kind of establish her more as just a lamppost with things.
Yeah.
And we had talked about doing a story about an escape room.
Yeah. I know recently we did an escape room, and we had done one in a video game themed one in the past.
Right.
So, do you think going through that experience recently gave you any ideas?
Yeah, but my problem is not being a game escape room aficionado.
Right.
I don't really know. I have sort of like the first thing written where they go into the escape room. But what happens when they actually are trying to escape, I really don't. That's kind of a little foreign for me.
Right.
So I'd have to kind of figure that out. But
you usually solve a puzzle, you get a key, and then get you to the next puzzle.
Right. And someone's also trying to get rid of them when they're trying to get out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it needs to be worked on, I think, so. But I think that's kind of an intriguing idea. Escape room becomes you really have to escape out of it.
Yeah.
So they let you out after an hour because it's
where there's a Batman-themed escape room. I don't know if this is involved with that, but I think that'd be the Riddler would be a perfect villain for that.
Okay.
Because the Riddler, his whole thing is about trying to prove that he's smarter than Batman.
Yeah, the only deal with actually using real characters outside our book would be that we would get sued for copyright.
No, I wasn't. I was suggesting for a Batman theme.
Oh yeah, right.
You should use Riddler. I'm not saying use Riddler in this story because he's.
Yeah, okay, good.
Why would I do that?
I just want to make sure. You had 5 hours of sleep. Just sort of running that by you. So do you like any of those ideas? All of them? None of them?
Well, the escape room one definitely has potential. We just need to figure out how to tap into that.
Yeah. To the
rescue one, the only question I would have is, are there any positive depictions of Russians in there?
Okay. These both guys they're not KGB, they call it something else now.
Right.
It's in the story that I can't remember.
I'm not saying don't depict the Russians negatively, just if a Russian is a villain, typically.
Well, one of the villains is it's Boris and Ivan. Boris is the professor and a scientist. Ivan is just sort of a brute, his handler or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
He never doesn't speak Russian.
Right.
He is always like, let's kill them. His solution is always to go to the most extreme.
Right.
The other guy's like, hey, wait a minute, he's a little more human.
Yeah.
Even though he's kind of he interrogates Mocha, but he doesn't like beat her or anything like that. But he's the one that sort of communicates better and seems to have more of a heart,
right.
if that's possible. But
I guess that answers the question.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought but he's also kind of, he's evil.
Right.
But he's not as evil as the other guy.
Right.
Russia with a heart.
I remember I actually wrote a script for a different take on Power Squared. that was more, well, I didn't want to get into too much detail because they hadn't like gotten past the script part yet.
Right.
But it was an attempt to be more comedic.
Right, and we were. It's like the next thing we're going to do, but this is Trevor's going to draw.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a different style, and it is supposed to be more comedic, and it's. I like the idea, sort of telling the story from.
I didn't want to get into too much detail.
But a different point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be kind of fun.
And there was something I had kind of outlined a while ago that I don't think it could be done as is.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an attempt to figure out what a possible like future for the story would be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would the idea was like, what would a absolutely final confrontation look like?
Right.
And was based on everything that had been written at the time, and again, it couldn't be done the way it is now.
Right.
But I think elements from it could still be used.
Right. Which is good. One of the things I like about To the Rescue is we're introducing another villain. It's not just Dr. Atlas.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Which I know we're getting a little, like, he's always there, you know.
Yeah.
But now it's somebody else on the opposite side of, you know, good versus bad, whatever you want to call it. But it's now somebody else is would also, theoretically, the Russian could come back trying to, you know, do something to them too.
Yeah.
Or he could be the escape room. I don't know. But, so yeah, we're trying to expand a little bit. I bring in To the Rescue, Steve.
Yeah.
Plays sort of a little key part in it.
Yeah.
So we actually, we have, if you're not familiar with Power Squared, it's the story of identical twin brothers who discover on the first day of college that they were granted superpowers when they were young because they rescued Kasune, who was trapped, and as a reward, she gave them these powers.
Yeah, and because of how it happened, they have to share powers.
Yeah, she had been hit in the head by a falling tree branch, and she was kind of woozy, and so instead of seeing two boys, she sees one. It's kind of the opposite of what woozy is. But, hey, if you're a Kasune, it's different. And so, yeah, the boys have some powers that are unique and some powers they have to share. And people want to, Dr. Atlas was the main villain, or is the main villain, but his idea is to take these. He believes that people have powers, have in their bloodstream something called the Viribus compound, which he wants to weaponize and synthesize and weaponize and create. His story is to create an army of super soldiers.
Yes.
In reality, he's, has his own little game going.
Yeah.
And the boys are a target. I like the idea of having maybe occasionally having a one shot here and there.
Yeah.
A lot of our stories are two.
Yeah.
But also, I think the idea we could introduce Boris as a potential other villain in the story, and he would be sort of being directed to do something to them.
With the super soldier thing, when I came up with like what would a final confrontation look like?
Mm-hmm.
I thought about like, okay, this in that story, the super soldier thing was building up to something, and it got pretty dark the way I explored it.
Yeah.
Or at least I think it was.
You had also one time come up with a story that was sort of back to that. Keanu Reeves and
Bill and Ted.
Yeah, Bill and Ted sort of idea.
Yeah. I don't know how well that would work now, but
yeah, but I mean, the idea wasn't necessarily. I guess they were supposed to be kind of comical.
Yeah.
In that way, not necessarily Bill and Ted.
Yeah.
But that was also an idea you had.
Yeah. I don't know what that would look like now.
Well, I'm just saying, but there are some other ideas I'd like to at least explore with it.
Yeah.
And, hopefully at some point people might go, hey, there's a whole bunch there, and actually read it. But that's kind of the goal.
I know I like exploring more of the yokai aspect of the story.
Right. Well, you've done that a couple of times.
Yes.
And
I wrote 2 yokai-centric issues.
one thought I had was Mocha would have to stop being human form for a while and revert back to her Kasune form.
All right.
Because it's, I assume there's a lot of wear and tear being something else.
Right.
And so she would need to sort of rejuvenate herself, and she'd have to go back to being a kitsune for, I don't know, for a while. But then,
Right.
and I was sort of thinking Marty would have to like take care of her as like a pet in a way. I mean, treat her like, around other people, treat her like she's a pet. Because people are going to wonder what happened to Mocha.
I was going to say, you're going to have to be very careful how you word that.
But I know. But I wasn't trying to, but it was just sort of just a thought.
Right.
That it would be hard on her to always be Mocha.
Right.
So maybe she has to like take some time off and revert back to the Kasune form.
Well, that's worth thinking about.
Yeah. So there's a lot of ideas running around out there. Probably the soonest any of these will come to being like aromatherapy, which is what we're working on now, probably won't be out until 2027.
Yeah, probably not.
And it depends on how fast Wendy is. I might be able to get to the next one before the end of that year too.
Yeah.
But I think this year is pretty much going to be Agnes.
Right.
Which will be the next issues coming out later this year. And we'll talk about those when we get closer. And that's going to be interesting because we have 2 different artists doing 2 different. One book with one person, one second book somebody else.
Yeah, but I've seen that happen in comics.
Yeah, this is the first time it really happened like that with us. It'd be kind of a whiplash effect.
Yeah.
From thing to issue to issue, thing to thing, issue. All right. Anything else you want to?
I was going to say, with changing artists, I actually have seen it happen where an artist change, there was an artist change mid-issue. There was this IDW Transformers comic, and I think it was all Hail Megatron, which wasn't that great, but that's beside the point. There was an artist who was doing the whole thing, but then while working on one issue, he got ill. And he was able to do the Cybertron stuff still, but the Earth stuff had to be done by a different artist. So it's jarring going from like this well-rendered Transformer style to like webcomic. I mean, like amateur webcomic.
Wow.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah, we're not quite that bad. But it is going to be.
It could be worse.
Yeah, it could be. We were almost having to switch midstream.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of I think probably a thing that a lot of indie comic people come across.
Yeah.
And we've had that situation. So we're on our 6th artist.
Something like that.
Our 5th. Yeah, our 5th.
Right.
And I don't know how many colors we've gone through. I used to think that we were the reason the colors got out of the business.
That's not the case.
I know. I just assume they always quit and do something else. Anyway, all right. So if there's an idea that you hear and you think, hey, that's good, comment.
Okay, so I think that's it. Next week, if this has worked out, we will be interviewing writer Joshua Pruitt,
All right.
who has written for many things. He is the only person alive who has written for Doctor Who and Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Wow.
And he has recently published a book, Euro and the Argonauts, or AKA the best book ever written about a kid named after a sandwich.
So when you say he wrote for Mystery Science Theater, he wrote for the show Mystery Science Theater?
Yes.
Wow.
For Doctor Who, it was the big... but that still counts as writing for Doctor Who.
Right. No, that's cool. I didn't know he wrote actually for the...
And he's also written for Phineas and Ferb.
Okay.
Like the show.
I know. Yeah. No, the podcast.
No, also book, comics.
Oh,
and
I
stuff.
see. Right. It's a whole universe of stuff.
He's written a bunch of stuff, but those were the highlights.
Well, that's cool. So he'll be our guest next week.
Yes.
That's a promise, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, if you're watching this on YouTube later and you like this, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more.
All right. So until next time and until next week, we have the interview.
Yeah.
I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
And you've been on the air with Power Squared.